Right to the Capitol Press Club at Post Office. Since taking over for his father in 1975, Mr. Mohammed has moved away from the ideas of racial separatism toward more moderate Sunni Muslim beliefs. Mr. Mohammed is believed to have up to 250,000 followers throughout the nation, and last year he became the first Muslim leader ever to give the invocation before the United States Senate. We take you now to Chicago for Mr. Mohammed's comments.
Thank you. Thank you. We greet you in peace as Muslims greet Assalamu alaikum. And we praise the one God of us all, the Lord creator of the heavens and the earth. We praise him and we salute the last prophet, Muhammad the prophet, to whom the Quran was revealed, with the traditional excellent salute, prayers and the peace be on him. Ameen. Let me begin by saying that I really appreciate the tribute that was given to recognize our achievements last night. They say my achievements, but those are our achievements. Can't make them. I can't make them by myself. So I don't know any kind of way. I always tell the brothers, I say, look, you all give me a credit for things that I know I couldn't do without you. Yes, the people are the most important concern, and the people are the most resourceful. The most resourceful thing we have is our people. And God blesses us only because we are of service to our people. And so I want to acknowledge that last night was a very special night for me, witnessing that wonderful tribute to the achievements made since I've been your leader. And most of them were really more recent in the leadership for us. Trips abroad and visits abroad to Saudi Arabia and also to Egypt and Northern Africa. Very, 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 I would say, inspiring for me to look at that, you know. When you're actually involved in something, you don't witness it as the onlooker or the spectator witness it. And when you see it, a lot of times it's fresh for me, and it affects me very much in the way it affects Imam Fleeman. When he was speaking for himself, he was speaking for me too. I was affected in the same way. And since I can't acknowledge the tribute without acknowledging Imam Clyde Rahman, the resident Imam of Cleveland, Ohio, Masjid Bilal in Cleveland, Ohio, I have to acknowledge his leadership in bringing that tribute about. In fact, it was his suggestion. He suggested it several times to me over several years that he said we would like to do this. And he wasn't just speaking for himself. He was in conversation with other leaders of the community. And I finally agreed when I asked him to look into the possibility of us getting this Regal Theater for a public address here in Chicago. I've been looking at this facility and having special interest in this facility for our gathering. This facility, as you're aware of, now I'm sure, this facility has Muslim history in it. There used to be a big Arab community right here in this neighborhood many, many years ago. I think maybe 60 years or so ago. There was Arabs here much later, but back there in that time, there were many Arabs in this area. And the Arabs told me that they built this theater. It wasn't built as a theater, it was built as a recreational facility for the Arab people, social facility for the Arab people to have the appearance of a mosque, a Muslim place of worship, a mosque, or a masjid, and to provide a place for masjid service, mosque service. Musalla was here, the place where they pray, the mosque area was also in this facility. And we had Sister Editor, Aisha Mustafa, to do a little study of it, have her people at the press, at the newspaper office, Muslim journal office, to do a little research, and they took pictures of the Islamic expressions that are still on this facility, still on the structure, still in the structure of this facility. So we know that Muslims built this facility. Arabs, not us, not the African Americans, but the Arabs built this facility. And also the small. You notice near Stony Island there's a small one. It was built by the same people, same time. That's what I was told. The little small one that's now a church. Yes. So I thought I would give some attention to two things. Well, the third also I haven't mentioned. The first being the tribute. The second being this facility, this wonderful facility here, the new Regal Theater. How many Chicagoans we have here? Let's see your hands. Oh, very good. A lot of Chicagoans. Do you remember the Regal Theater on South Park when it was called South Park, was now Kings Drive? Yeah. And you know that theater was for us in Chicago like the Apollo was and is for the people of New York, Harlem. And Michael Jackson, as a little boy, and his family, they performed there before they got popular. They performed there at the Regal Theater. How I know I saw them, I was in the audience. Yeah, I was in the audience and I saw them. They were in competition, amateur show competition, and they won the competition against another group that was terrific too. And they were also called the Jacksons. Two groups were called the Jacksons. But the Jackson family, the Jackson Five, Michael, little Michael, they won over the other group. But the other group was terrific. Both groups were terrific. Now, the third thing I want to talk about is this book here before I go into my address. I have here a book that I cherish. It's one of the most, I would say, appreciated gifts that I've received. And this gift was given to me from the great-grandson of Booker T. Washington. His name is in this book. His name is Mohammed Musa Muslim Aboui. Some of you know him, I'm sure. If you've been in South Carolina, Charleston, I'm sure you know, or somewhere else, you probably have met him. It wasn't my first time meeting him. I had met him a few years ago, too. And he had told me about the family and how they appreciated my appreciation for Booker T. Washington. Booker T. Washington, and I'm beginning my address right now. Booker T. Washington and certain other of our leaders in the history of African American people on this continent, or I should say in this hemisphere, because we have to include Marcus Garvey. Certain ones of them, and among them some females, were not just reacting to what went on in our life, or what was bothering us as a people in this country, but they were people of foresight as well as observers of what was happening. They were people who were aware, who kept themselves aware of what was happening to our people. And they were also people who were looking to the future to see how should our race be directed in order to come into the best life that they could envision for the race. I have come to understand or to see W.E.B. Du Bois, Marcus Garvey. These two figures are put in opposition in history. Some even refer to them as being enemies. But I can't see how they could have been enemies. I see them as two different people representing two different sides of our life, or facets of our life, and emphasizing the facets of our life that they individually were attending, but without those two facets of our life, we don't have much of a life. And one's language was the language more so of an intellectual, and the other being being Booker T. Washington, his language was more the language of the business world. But we should never underestimate Booker T. Washington as an intellect. Booker T. Washington was a great intellect, as was W.E.B. Du Bois. And he also was a man with a philosophical insight and mind, just as was W.E.B. Du Bois. Black are great African-American philosophers, along with many others that have indicated for the one who will read what they have written and take note, have indicated that they were men with a vision and men with philosophical insight. So we appreciate those men in our history very much, along with others who were called extremists and radicals, among them the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, who built upon what he saw as a good foundation left by Booker T. Washington, Marcus Garvey, Drew Ali, and others. Now we know that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad didn't discover by himself a way to continue and build upon the good foundation that those personalities for us. We know that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was a poor man from Georgia who didn't have education. He was not like Du Bois, Booker T. Washington, educated. He was not educated. He was not formally educated. He had very little elementary school education, and from Georgia, and being African American, that little education, even a high school education, wouldn't count for much. That little education counts for nothing. But the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was a sharp man mentally, very intelligent, so he educated himself even before he met his teacher, W.D. Farad, or W. Farad Muhammad. He had been reading and teaching himself to read. I've heard him say on more than one occasion that he taught himself to read and to write. He didn't learn to read and write in school. He taught himself to read and write by applying himself and studying. But we know that once the Honorable Elijah Muhammad met a man who was worldly informed and obviously a red man, he had been reading a lot, that's W. Farad. W.D. Farad. When he met him and heard what that man had to say, he became a changed man in his thinking, changed man in his life, greatly changed man. Then he began to pursue what he had an interest already to pursue, and I know this because I heard this from his mouth, and that was certain things that he later come to have in common with Marcus Garvey, W.E.B. Du Bois, George Washington Carver, Booker T. Washington, and a few others, including Noble Drew Ali, who is known to be the leader and the founder of the Moorish Science Temple, the Moorish Americans of the Moorish Science Temple. Again, I say we know that because we got it from his mouth. This talk is not about our great thinkers, and I want us to know that we have had some great thinkers. It's about race. Race as an identity. Race as a consciousness. That's what it's about. And I would like to, again, recognize God, the one and only, and in his name, I trust that what we deliver here will be understood, and understood clearly, and will be appreciated. By that I mean, will be seen as something of use, because after all, we don't have time to just give attention to things that won't benefit us, you know. And I would feel very bad if I thought that I was receiving your attention, getting your attention, and holding you here from something else you could be doing, and not contributing something that would be of value and use to you for the betterment of life. This is not an address to convert anybody to Islam. Let me make that clear. If you want to hear me talk on Islam, then you have to invite me for that purpose. But as a Muslim, I think it's impossible for me not to be seen as a person who favors Islam. That's impossible for me. No way to get around that. But as Muslims, we have to learn to address topics of concern and do a good job of it, at least try hard, and not come across as somebody that's trying to change somebody's religion. And we're not saying something that's out of line with the great teachers and preachers of Islam, especially during the time of our prophet. They were able to address the concerns of people, to address non-Muslim audience, to address Muslim audience, without giving a sermon or something to convert those people from their religion. We have men who made great contribution to civilization as doctors, jurists, lawyers, judges, as educators, mathematicians, etc. And they address their subject matter And anyone can read their subject matter without feeling that someone making an attempt to convert them to the religion. Their great works were appreciated by many non-Muslim nations. Not just one, but many non-Muslim nations. And perhaps you're aware, I know the Muslims are, most of you, that because of their unselfish work, the West came into an awakening again in the sciences, and that awakening came to be known as the Renaissance or the Renaissance. I would think that even the great religious leader and thinker for the West, for Christianity, Martin Luther, I would be pretty certain that he was influenced too by the contributions of the Muslim to logic, universal logic, and came to even understand his own religion better and appreciate it better because of the Muslim influencing the thinking of the people at that time. We're talking about a religious leader now, not to mention those in the field of science, objective science, what we say, objective science. Race, what it was and what it should be now. I'm straining, so you don't mind me getting some help from man. And man couldn't make these glasses before he got first some help from God. I mean, even with respect to what goes into the making of these glasses. Knowledge of glass making or whatever, of refining the glass, magnification, how magnification can be gotten from a glass, all of that, believe me, nothing would come to us of knowledge without God creating this material world and us in a certain way so that that can happen. Yeah, that helps a lot. As a language, race formed of religious symbolism. The term symbolism says a meaning is given to something understood in one definition from something understood in a different definition. In symbolism, a word or an expression represents a word or a meaning of a different nature. For example, a lion in physical image represents and communicates to us abstract meanings of power, dignity, courage. I have had encouragement to be attracted to ancient Egypt, the language that has mystified the modern world for thousands of years, called hieroglyphics. And that language is the language of symbolism. Philosophers are said to have said that a picture is worth 10,000 words. And believe me, the best help I have gotten to communicate to an audience has been from a natural interest in speaking through pictures. I don't do it as much now as I used to do it because I try to control my speech more now, to limit time, to save time and not hold you so long. So I tend to try to work from notes more now and from script. But if I would just relax, then my nature would take over, and I would be speaking to you through a lot of pictures. We have a Muslim brother who has done a study of symbolism, Dr. James Rashid. I think he's changed his name recently. He might have also an Islamic name in the place of James. As a PhD candidate, he wrote a thesis that he presented to me in the form of a book, thick book, on race and religious symbolism. Dr. James Rashid's scholarly work, for which he was honored or given the doctorate degree, attempts to unravel an area of symbolism, religious symbolism, and general symbolism, to show that racist language fed upon religious symbolism. Fed upon that symbolism or that mythical or mysterious language to acquire its present body we call the body of language. So we will be speaking to each other, and we call it common language, and we'll be using terminology from this original source of language, symbolism, and wondering why we can't make ourselves understood. And it is simply because we have been given language that really is not in accord with common way of thinking, with the common way of thinking. More correctly, is not in accord with the natural human way of thinking. Hence the term and expression in quotation, white man, may be rational